Hi there. I'm Debi McKee. I'm a crystal energy healer, and I just wanted to share with you a little bit about who I am. And I'm a crystal energy healer, and I'm a coach and a mentor. And what else am I? I'm a teacher, I'm an author. I do many different things, but in general, I call myself a healer. So I specialize in crystal energy healing and counseling and family counseling. And I do everything from extreme physical things like cancer and um, actually some missing early childhood baby parts. We can help grow them to all the deep emotional and spiritual things that we all struggle with or we get stuck in certain ways. So I wanted to just share a few things about what I do. In general, I go by a crystal healer, as that is my overall blanket thing that I do very regularly every day. Part of me is I've trained for over 20 something years, like 25 years, I think now it's getting kind of long time. Reiki healing, about 6 levels, pranic healing, um, but mainly my crystals. I do it with crystals. I can channel and write. People have a nice long session, good hour. I let them talk a good hour or so before we get into session. The session's an hour, and then we have about a half hour afterward where we talk about what all I saw. So people normally sit down on a table, and I put a bunch of different crystals on them, and your spirit guides will talk to my spirit guides, and I'll hear the Holy Spirit tell me what all you need, and then I write it all down. And you get to go home with that. So that's exciting because you get that to take home. Um, Also, there might be some past life stories will come in, and I'll write those down, and they can be triggered off of a body part. Say you had a sword like get you in your rib or on your back or your rib or your thigh, and then in this life you might have like a strange phantom pain there. You can't seem to find out where it came from, but we can release that during a session. It's pretty nice. So if you're into finding out some of that stuff, it can be exciting. I see that stuff very simply. Also, um, I like to do a lot of counseling beforehand, and we can get on your path, or if you're tired of your job that you've been in for a really long time, we can help you find out what your new job will be, or what, you've heard the phrase soul purpose. We can definitely nail down your soul purpose. And it's usually something that gives you deep, deep joy. And sometimes that's tricky because we have all these pictures in our heads of who we think we should be, what we're supposed to do as a wife or a mother or whatever age you are. Or if you want to, if you have a lot of trouble with your mate, or you have a pattern of types of mates that you attract, and you try to shake that, and you try and try and try, and you can't seem to shake that, I can help you release that very deeply and let that go. So, and then probably the most common thing people say when they have a healing from me, they say, I feel calmer yet more energized. So that sounds, kind of backwards, but it's like I remove all these things off of your body and replace it with energy that works for you by removing all of these cords and ties and energetic cords that are, anchors to people that wear you down, kind of drain you. So when we remove these cords, it doesn't make you release those people from your life forever. It just takes the burn off or the irritant off, or, like our parents put on a lot of our buttons that they can push. So, you can't really remove your parents from your system, but we can remove the irritating parts that wear you down. And then, there's the ones we get from our coworkers, and sometimes those coworkers can be just as hard on you as if you've had any abuse in your life from work, or from your parents or relatives. We can remove that also, and it goes pretty deep. So Some people come just once a year, some people come twice, some people come a few times in a row if we're going through something heavy. And abuse is a really big topic, and many, 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 many people have been abused on a lot of levels, whether it's physical or sexual um, or it's just it's repeated in your family, and you can stop that chain, and you do the work on yourself, and it releases the pattern, so when you heal the people behind you, when you work on yourself, you heal the people behind you, like your parents, your mother, your grandmother, your great grandmother, and then that in turn will heal your babies in front of you. So it can be bettering the planet. If you have trouble working on yourself and healing yourself and taking time to heal yourself, um, you can look at it as you're healing the future generations. And that's giving, right? But if you want to hear about my beginnings, if you want to say, I come from a long line of ministers. My father was a minister. My grandfather was minister. My grandmother on the other side, and there's quite a few of them in the family. And then I found out generations 5, 6, and 7 generations back were female Cherokee shamans. So I have a real shaman vibe, also a mystic vibe. And then I get to nurture that now that I'm older. I can really feel that vibration and be really comfortable with it. I'm a few decades old, so I can. You get a little more comfortable in yourself the older you get, and because you work on yourself and you release a lot of things. But I grew up with some pretty strict um, Pentecostal and Assembly of God Christian rules. And there was parts of it in my family that were just so extreme, and they were so set in your ways. Like, does your friends that want to come to my girlfriend's coming over when I was little, did they say this phrase and this phrase and this phrase, because they can't get into heaven and they can't be our friends? And so I couldn't have a friend over if she was Presbyterian or Lutheran, and that just didn't make sense in my heart. And then some of my family members that had this very serious religious role in the community and built churches and had tent revival meetings, wild stuff. But they were so unhappy, or there was some abuse going on in the family around them with aunts and uncles and things, that I knew that a lot of these rules that I was raised with were not, they didn't have to be set in stone, and they didn't have to be this way or out, like God was like, no. A big first thing I was like, God is not a condemning God. God is a loving God. And I believe God wants us to have the career of our dreams that really makes us joyful, and then to live in the place that nurtures that career and that joy, and then to have the mate that supports your joy in that career, in that home, in that neighborhood, so that it's simpler, it's easier, and it's not such a struggle. So that's a big one that I like to, that works for me, that I think is very true, that I was not raised with that. Everyone in our family was either a minister, an engineer, or an artist of some sort. And that's it. They all seem so different, but I believe I'm all of those things put together. I work with these crystals, and there's a big science that goes with them. Every crystal is made of a different set of minerals, and we're minerals, water, and energy. So you can pick up a stone, and you're like, oh my gosh, this crystal feels so good in my hand, and you don't know why. You don't have to know why, but knowing that it feels good right now, that's really the important part. I write constantly about these crystals. I've been working like over a couple 100,000 people now. So I'm like, okay, I know this crystal has done this, and this on 500 people. So that's my advice of what that crystal does. And so you have to keep that in mind when you read crystal books and the details, because they're coming from their story, what sign they are, what dramas they've had, what traumas they've had, and that's their information that comes in, or what they've channeled, what they've talked to their angels about, right? So there's that point of me and my science, but it's been a lifetime of knowledge and my journey, as far as my advice on crystals. But I can still tell you this is what this rock does and this rock does. But by the time you lay down on my table and I read your energy and get into your energy, your body's going to tell me, and your spirit guides are going to tell me what rocks will work for you, what vegetables and fruit you should be eating, what kind of exercise, what's not working, or if you're carrying things from your mate or your children or your relatives, and then I can help move that off and share that information with you. So it's pretty important, I think, and you feel a little relief when you find out some of these thoughts and you have in your head or emotions you carry in your heart aren't always yours. This year was a big example of that. We were feeling these big global emotions and panics, and so much drama, and all these thoughts come in your head, and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so anxious. But it might not be you. You might be really peaceful inside, but you're feeling your neighbor's stuff, immediately. But we can change that. We can change it just like that. You can have a calming session and you can get anxiety again. But if you're knowledgeable about what's going on in your soul and around you, you can learn how to change that yourself. So it is a personal journey and personal healing, and I believe we can heal just about everything. Sometimes some illnesses, like in cancer, that's at the end of your journey, and chemicals aren't going to heal it. It's the emotional and the spiritual stuff you dig out so those tumor balls don't grow again. Um, so there's a lot of different things that I've learned on my way. I mentioned tent revival meetings. I don't know if you know what those are, but my grandfather used to do them out in the desert here in California, and they would be these big, huge tents that would fill up a couple hundred people, and they would last quite a few days, minimum of 2 days, sometimes 3 and 4. But the best thing the example I got from my family is that they were hands-on healers, and I saw them do a lot of really wild things. And I've always been extremely intuitive, almost, to a non-human point. I can see and feel and hear and smell everything just from so far away. But I could read these things that were going on these people when my grandfather was working on others in the congregation, and I would see things flying off of them and swirlies and colors. And I was just this quiet person until I was like 18. I was just quiet. And to just so I there's not much that shocks me because I've seen these wild things back when I was little. But now my journey, as far as working on folks, I believe, God and our guides and our angels allow us to see what we can handle. But as a healer, you can ask for, okay, I can look at that now. And then, or sometimes you get really shocking stuff and then you tell your guides, no, I don't really want to see that anymore. I'll see really wild alien stuff, and I'll see real, different flashes of types of people on the inside. Or their spirit guides. Sometimes their spirit guides are so bizarre looking or get their names that don't make sense. But eventually, I'll figure out what they're talking about. And once I figure out what they're talking about, then I'll get a couple more examples of it. I usually get them in threes. And then I'm like, okay, I know what that is. But you can have many, many different spirit guides too from different centuries, depending how many times you've come back on the planet. And that's really fascinating work to get into, and it helps you get through some of these things that we're all walking through right now in your life. And let's see, what else could I tell you about my family, my training. I am from California, by a little beach town, and I did do some years in Japan as a fashion designer, and I designed here also. But and then I did some years in Colorado where I opened up a lot of my skills there's just a lot more animals and people there. There's a lot more space. Hiking to high altitudes makes a big difference as far as hearing and feeling and trusting what you see. So I learned about crystals out there. I learned about, I had a 3-year training course out there. And I came out with a reverend, but I don't really wear the reverend, but I have one. But I do love to teach. If you want an energy session, a healing session, some counseling, I'm a pretty good counselor. he can help you walk through some things and clear some things. You can have the session in the morning, in the beginning, and then the healing afterward. And let's see what else. I write a lot. I encourage writing. I encourage journaling. Journaling. You can learn a lot through your own writing. But I think that's about it, as far as what I've done. The other thing, here in California, we have a lot of crystal stores and temples and learning centers, and I've taught and done healings and done fairs at those for like 20 years now too. So I've had a big array of different types of people in many different counties. I don't know. I guess that's about it. I'll say bye for now, and I'll post my information underneath here so you can see me if you want to contact me. I'm here for you. Thank you very much. Bye.